Baltimore Ravens lose to the Cleveland Browns 29-24. The defense gets absolutely torched by Jameis Winston. Ravens can't catch a ball. Let's dive into all the details in this episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans and Browns fans? Congrats. My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. This one was not a fun game to watch if you're a Ravens fan. Just terrible defense. Not super surprised. I mean, our secondary has been awful all season long, and then we're without Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, but it was a little worse than I thought. We just could not get them off the field and dropped interceptions again. Story of the game week after week. How many picks do we need to drop? That one at the end was right in Kyle Hamilton's chest. And Kyle had a great game other than that. I'm not trying to beat him up, but Eddie Jackson dropping a few picks, Kyle Hamilton dropping picks. On offense, we're dropping passes. Aguilar, Bateman. I don't understand the drop passes. I don't understand how our defense just can't get off the field. I mean, there's got to be some changes. I gave Zach Orr a pretty lengthy leash, I feel like. I haven't been that hard on him, even though our secondary has been awful this season. I've been trying to give them time, trying to give this defense some time to communicate and get their act together, but we're through week 8, and it's not better at all. And this is obviously a tough game to stack up against other games because we didn't have Nate Wiggins or Marlon Humphrey. That definitely would have made a difference in this game. But regardless, there's so many issues. And they even benched Marcus Williams. So all this, Marcus Williams is the issue. Yeah, he's part of the issue for sure, but he is not the issue. You know what I mean? Eddie Jackson got torched today. Not only on that Tillman game-winning touchdown, but jump balls to Njoku. He couldn't turn around and find the ball. I mean, Eddie Jackson right now is not deserving to be our starting safety. Our pass rush not able to get home at all, it feels like. I mean, Kyle Hamilton had a sack on a blitz, and then Yannick Ngakoue and Tavius Robinson had half sacks, but that's it. And it just felt like Jameis had all day back there. We saw that last week with Baker, too. The pass rush is not getting home. That doesn't help the secondary at all. And then our secondary just can't hold up. We can't cover anyone. Eddie Jackson's getting torched by tight ends or anyone that he has to cover. Stevens is not doing well covering his guys in one-on-one matchups. And this defense is just not good enough. Blame is to go across the board, in my opinion. We need a better pass rush, a better secondary. We need a better called game by Zach Orr. I mean, everything has to improve on the defensive side of the ball. I wasn't that confident in it heading into this game, but now I'm just leaving what's the solution here? Can we go trade for one pass rusher and fix all these issues? I don't know, man. This feels bigger than one move. I don't think we're one trade away. I think that there are bigger problems going on this defense. It's just constant miscommunication. And if it was just this week, I'd be like, okay, there's a lot of new guys out there, but it's not just this week. It's been all season, even with Marlon and Nate Wiggins. So this week was really, really bad. But this is a problem that is continuing to happen. So we need some changes ASAP. I don't even know what that solution is. I don't know what those changes need to be to fix it all. If we had to fix every single little problem, we need new safeties, we need new pass rushers, we need a new defensive coordinator. We can't fix all that this season. So we're going to have to figure something out because this defense is way too talented. On paper, this defense is ridiculous. Most of the people from last year when we had the number one defense, we led the league in sacks, points allowed, and turnovers. Number one defense in the NFL last year. And all we really lost is Clowney and Patrick Queen and Geno Stone. And this is the result? That's crazy, man. There's no way. And Mike McDonald. So obviously that seems to be the biggest loss. But that was year 2 of him. It's not like Mike McDonald was without struggles his first season. So I don't want to sit here and say Orr's not capable of turning this around, but he's going to need some help. This defense has to turn around immediately. And we will get Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins back, so it's not like we're going to be this thin at corner, but we lost a couple defensive linemen in this game. Michael Pierce, that injury didn't look great, calf injury. Brent Urban should be back. He had a concussion, so he had to leave, but I'm sure that won't be out too long. But week after week, we are getting torched through the air. It's embarrassing. We have such a good team. The offense is rolling. We'll talk about the offense. They definitely weren't rolling or clicking on all cylinders today, but I'm not surprised that Cleveland gave us a little bit more challenge than we've had these past few weeks. I kind of expected that coming with a talented front and good corners, and I'm not shocked that our offense struggled a little bit. But this defense is killing us. There's no way we win a Super Bowl when we're just getting torched through the air. I mean, when we play really talented offenses like Cincinnati, for example, I mean, how are you going to deal with that? You can't deal with that. You're going to have to deal with that for a whole playoff stretch. How are we going to be able to put together 3-4 straight weeks of dominant defensive ball in the playoffs to not get torched through the air and not lose one game? These are things that you have to shore up, because if one thing goes wrong in the playoffs, as we've seen these past few years, then you're out. You go home. The season's over. And everyone's talking about how Lamar can't get it done. Well, in my opinion, this year, this defense is going to be the thing that holds this team back. It's clear as day. It's week after week. I don't think we've seen one great defensive performance outside of the Buffalo game. There's just not many positives to take away from the defensive side of the ball, from this game in general for the Ravens. Shout out to the Browns. Obviously, they took advantage. Tillman had a great game. Judy had a great game. Jameis had a great game. Should have had some picks, though. No turnovers. And that's a crazy game for Jameis not to make a mistake, but he did make mistakes. Eddie Jackson dropped one in the end zone early in the game. Eddie Jackson dropped another one that he jumped up for, went right through his hands. The receiver almost caught it. And then at the end of the game, Kyle Hamilton, game winner, right in his chest, bobbles it, drops it. I don't understand. These are massive opportunities that we're not capitalizing on. And it's every week. It's not just this game. This game was really bad. I think the drops were highlighted on both sides of the ball, but every week our defense is dropping picks. And with how talented our offense is, we need to get them as many chances as we can. And with how bad our defense is, we need to capitalize on these turnovers so at least we can get some stops. Just a frustrating game. It's frustrating that this defense, especially the secondary, week after week, continues to just let up a ridiculous amount of yards. They did do well stopping Chubb in the run game again. They held him under 100 yards. They definitely had some runs going. But at the end of the game, looking back, we did pretty well managing their run game. But it doesn't matter when you shut everyone's run down and they just torch you through the air. I mean, they're making the decision. Like, we're not going to run that much. Baltimore's good at stopping the run. They can't stop the pass at all. We're going to keep zipping down the field, drive after drive. Let's shift over to the offensive side of the ball for the Ravens. It definitely wasn't all bad, but I thought Cleveland did an incredible job bringing pressure, being aggressive, getting more push. They won the trenches battle. Our line was not giving Lamar a clean pocket time after time. Jameis had a way cleaner pocket. Lamar was definitely rolling out a lot and trying to buy some time himself because he was under pressure. I'm not blaming the entire thing on the offensive line. That's a really talented front, but the line didn't have their best game. They didn't create a lot of great running lanes. We didn't even commit to the running game. Henry had 11 carries because we weren't running that well. Probably looking back, should have ran a few more times, but we couldn't really get the run game rolling on a consistent basis. It was always a little holding penalty or something happened. Something was stalling the drive, and we were in a lot of third and longs in this game, which is self-inflicted on our part by getting these penalties and stuff. Some of them were bad calls too, but that's going to happen every week. But it's also credit to the Browns for keeping us in third and long play after play. And I thought that they did a great job of doing that, and that limits our offense. They got more stops than anybody really has since week 1 or 2. The Browns have played the best defensive performance that we've seen since the Chiefs Raiders. But one thing that I was talking about on the defense, I can also talk about on the offense in this game, and that is drops. The Ravens receivers did not help out Lamar, especially Rashad Bateman. Multiple drops. I know the sun was in his eyes or whatever. I mean, everybody's playing with the sun. We got to make that catch somehow. It hits him right in the face mask. And that's like a 40-yard play, And then Aguilar had a dropper too. I mean, the Ravens receivers were really not helping out Lamar. Zay ended up getting going later in the game. He had a slow start. I thought he looked a lot slower. I don't know if it was just me, but he looked like he was hobbled with an ankle injury. I mean, shout out to him for toughing it out and being out there. And he's a decoy anyway, But the first half, it seemed like he was just a decoy. Second half, he was able to get going a little bit, but we weren't able to run the ball because we were down and we had to score quickly. So drop pass is a huge problem for the offense in this game. Tucker missed another field goal. Not that decided the game, but didn't help, and it is hard to trust Tucker from 50 plus right now. And in this game, we didn't have as many offensive answers to what they were doing. I thought Todd Monken's play calling was kind of average in this game. He had some boneheaded play calls on 3rd or 4th and short, that 4th and 1 where he puts Henry and Wildcat on the first drive. They obviously know we're running. I hate when we take Lamar out from under center, because when Lamar's there, you have so many options. You might run Henry up the middle. You might run Henry to the outside. Lamar might keep it and roll to the outside. Lamar might throw it. The defense is guessing. But when you put Henry and Wildcat, what do you think's going to happen? I guess he could throw it, but it's unlikely. So it's a lot easier to stop when you do that. And then we had another 3rd or 4th and short, and we put Charlie Kohler, 3rd string tight end, under center, and he false starts. And Lamar's just in the back. These plays are just too risky, and I don't really think give us that much of an edge. I guess they were going to sneak it with Kohler and get a big push behind him because he's a bigger body, but I just way rather have Lamar out there. For one, I think Lamar's a better decision maker than any of those guys, and it really keeps the defense guessing of where that ball is going to go. So let's look at some of these stats. Lamar goes 23 of 38, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, was sacked 3 times. Derrick Henry had 11 for 73 on the ground and a touchdown. Lamar had 8 for 46 on the ground. Justice Hill not very involved at all, mainly pass protection. And then through the air, Zay Flowers ended up with 7 catches for 115 yards. He had 12 targets. Isaiah Likely, 4 catches for 47 yards. Nelson Aguilar, 3 for 36 and a touchdown. Mark Andrews, 5 for 36 and a touchdown. Rashad Bateman, 1 catch for 28 yards. Definitely feel like Rashad should have had more than that. He had those huge drops. Just not a very good game for Rashad, especially when Zay is hobbled and you're not getting prime Zay. Zay still had a great game, but he was hobbled. He was definitely a little slower than we're used to seeing. That's a time where Bateman's got to step up, be the guy, and he did not deliver today. Moving over to the defense, not much positive to talk about. Kyle Hamilton, 10 tackles and a sack. Dropped pick as well, which was just massive. Eddie Jackson with 10 tackles, but that's because he was chasing guys that were beating him. Roquan Smith, 8 tackles, not very involved. I didn't feel like Roquan's impact on this game was felt very much. And then we had Tavius Robinson with a half sack, Yannick Ngakoue with a half sack. Moving over to the Browns, Jameis Winston goes nuclear, 334, 3 touchdowns. No picks. Nick Chubb, 16 carries for 52 on the ground. Browns ended up with 80 total rushing yards, so that is a good job by the Ravens defense to keep the run game contained. But as you can see, through the air, Cedric Tillman, 7 catches, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the game winner. Elijah Moore, 8 catches, 85 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 5 catches, 79 yards. Njoku, 5 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. What a joke, man. This defense has to play way better. Way better. That's the story of the game. Bad defense and drops. I would say, to summarize this entire game, that's what it was. If we had more catches on offense, if we caught some interceptions, the Ravens win this game. And I don't know who the Ravens are going to get, but I think the Ravens have to make a move at the deadline. This team is not good enough, especially on the defensive side of the ball right now. I wouldn't mind us getting another receiver, and I wouldn't mind us getting a pass rusher. I think that, or safety if we can, but I don't really know how that would happen. So pass rusher or receiver or both, but we're going to need more. This team can win a Super Bowl this year, there's no doubt, but this defense has to take exponential leaps, and we know they can. We saw a dominant defense last year. Same guys, really, minus Queen, Stone, and Clowney. Are those 3 guys really the missing piece? I would say it's more Mike McDonald to Zach Orr is a lot of what we're seeing. And then Eddie Jackson has not worked out at all. Marcus Williams has regressed and didn't even play today, really. So I don't know. There's definitely a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things that need fixed. But here we are. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. about this game. What would you do to fix this team? You know, I think the issues are pretty obvious, but the answers aren't as obvious, at least for me. I don't know the exact solution to just correct all this. There's so many issues on defense. That's it for today, guys. I appreciate you as always for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game, wish we had him now, take us out.
Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The flock rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.